story comes in, this thing will be bold and highlighted, and it'll tell you the number of stories. And it will happen. I'll show you soon enough. Google Calendar is really, really the strength of one of the major strengths of the Google apps, and I use it a lot. Does anyone have soccer practices or piano lessons and stuff like that, or stuff where you're trying to coordinate with your kids? Anybody? Okay, besides me, some of us do. Okay, great. The beauty of this is that Google lives in the cloud, and it can be accessible anywhere. I have this computer here that I'm using, Google Calendar online, my iPhone, my kids' iPods are all synced together. So if I add an item to either my iPhone, Google Calendar, my iCal, Outlook Express will work as well. It gets automatically updated to Google Calendar here, and then it gets sent to everyone else. So, for example, I used to be part of a scout group. So I used to have my own calendar, and it was my scout activities. So every week I would put down, here's what we're going to work on for this week. Here's the stuff that the kids need to bring, etc., etc. And so the kids, and the nice thing about it is that once I created that calendar, I can actually post it on a website, and people can just come to the website. There's the schedule of what's happening with the scouts. When I was with my Cub group, I actually had it send email out to the parents the night before. So the parents would get this email saying, tomorrow night, Cubs is from 6:30 to 8 o'clock. We're going to be working on Cub cars. Make sure your kid brings his Cub car, his paints, and his glues. And that would get emailed to the parent the night before. Google looks after it. I do it once, I'm done. I don't have to worry about any of this stuff. Google looks after it. Let me just show you something. I'm going to go over here to, this is Clark Kent's stuff, and I'm going to go into his information here. Now Clark, who we all know is basically Superman in disguise, has got a pretty busy time, and he's actually can create a number of different calendars. You can create 100 different calendars to do different things. I've got one calendar here which is called the Blue Tights Fit Nice. This is his personal calendar. So in here I can see that he wants to take Lois for lunch, and on Saturday he's going to go to Bruce Wayne's formal because, you know, the Batman throws a really good party. But that's his personal side of things. But he also, as Superman, needs to show up to the Mad Luncheon, as well as he's going to the Cousins of Coca-Cola users for after dinner drinks. He's a Pepsi guy, so he's trying to push his way through. So he wants to keep those two calendars separate. Now, the way we do this, actually, let me just go through calendars first. So we've got two calendars set up here. I can view it by, you know, just like you would any other time, day, week, month. I can do it 4 days in advance, or I can do an agenda, which is really handy because then I can see everything that's going on. These are the calendars that Clark Kent owns. I can also have other calendars that other people run. So for example, come August, maybe Clark will subscribe to a calendar called TV shows. And it tells you when all the TV shows start dates. You know, between September and October, you never know when your show is going to start. Somebody will go and create, guarantee, some 10 to 100 people will go and create a calendar, input all those dates in it, and you can subscribe to it and just say, you know what, I just want that information to show up in my view here. And those are kind of handy things. Here you'll see the Canadian holidays actually got added in automatically by Google when it found out that I was from Edmonton. So these are things that they've done. Adding a calendar couldn't be simpler. So let's say that as Clark Kent, he's going to get his uniform cleaned at 7 here. So at 7 in the morning, he's going to go and pick it up. Just click on it, pick up uniform at 5 p.m. Now I can assign it to a different calendar because this is his personal calendar. I'll just assign it to there. And there we can see it shows up. When I go and edit the event details, here's what's really kind of cool about it. I mean, how many of you use GroupWise? How many of you are heavy GroupWise users? Okay, same kind of stuff. I can go in here. The page is just kind of narrow. That's why it looks like this, but usually everything's on one line. There we go. So I can pick a time from a point to this point. I can say what date it is, or if it falls across 2 dates, I can do that as well. Does it repeat? So something like music lessons repeats every Wednesday from such and such a time. The where is very cool too, because I can also put in an address. So I'm going to just put in Grant MacEwan College, Grant MacEwan University. Thank you for correcting me. It's only been in 18 years. 10700 104th Avenue. And a description if I want to put in a description. And I'm just going to save that for now. The next time I go look at this pickup uniform, it actually gives me a link for a map. And when I click on it, sure enough, if I had the address right, and apparently it can't tell me yet what I want, but there's my map giving me the location. If I put an actual address in there and didn't put in the Grant MacEwan, it would map that right there. This comes in handy when you start sharing the calendar with other people, or if you make it public on your website. Do any of you have blogs or websites that you work with? One person? Okay, a couple people. Because this calendar, the way it's set up, you can actually take this one calendar, embed it on a website, so anytime someone visits it, it'll show up there. And I'll show you examples of that in a minute. But here's my my information here. The other thing is, let's say that between Clark and let's say that Clark Kent decides that he's actually going to do a Superman fundraiser of his own. So on Sunday, he's going to create the Superman in the Park, and it's going to run from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and he's going to be giving everybody rides and escapes and stuff like that. Now this is a Superman thing, so this is part of the charity work, so it's a different calendar. So I'm going to chuck that in there, and I'm going to just go and edit the event dates. So Superman in the Park, look at that, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Figured that out pretty quick. Where? Well, figured out it was in the park. I could put an address in there, and this time I'm just going to add in an address, 10700, oops, 104 Avenue. And I always like to do the whole thing. Now here's where it's kind of fun. I can add guests. So if I have different email addresses of different people, I can add them into this. So if there are those of you that have used, what's it called? Evite, that's what it is, thank you, Evite, to plan your parties and stuff like that. This isn't quite as nice as that, but it's got some really nice functions, and this way you don't have to recreate the activity in Evite and in here as well. So I'm going to put in Teaching Trev. Oops, not Treacherous Trev. Teaching Trev, because we're both on the same contact list. And I'm going to say, okay, my guests, they can modify the event. No, I don't want anyone doing that. They can invite others, of course, because it's a fundraiser. And I can see the guest list. So I can send that off in a second. And I've got these defaults, or sorry, these settings. I can be private or public or whatever my default setting is, which in this case is private. So I'm going to save this. And yeah, let's send an invite to Teaching Trev. There we are. So I'm going to go switch back over to Teaching Trev. So here's my my information. You can see there's nothing here at the moment. Just this here. Oh, what's this? Something just popped up. Superman in the Park. You want to go? Yes, I do want to go. This sounds like a lot of fun. I'm going to put this in. So I've decided I'm going to accept this. This now becomes part of Teaching Trev's calendar of events. Okay, so what it does is it actually makes a duplicate, and just like in GroupWides, there's one master one. You can add it to your own calendar, but this is just part of Teaching Trev's calendar. When I go back in here and take a look at my Superman in the Park, and let's go event details. Oh, looks like we have one person coming. So it actually keeps track of the number of people who have come. I've done this kind of stuff when I got married 3 years ago. It's great for parties. Like, will you be coming? Will you bring in a guest? Yes, no, et cetera, et cetera. And we can see that, hey, remember, we can say who's going to be coming. Teaching Trev's going to be coming. And that's public, so everyone can see who else is coming. So if you have a tight group of friends that do suppers or potlucks or something like that, like once a month, I got a group of friends, we do that. We can plan all this ahead of time. And this location just changes. Any questions on that? Yep. Okay, question is, does it only work with other Gmail accounts? The notification part, yes. If you're not part of Gmail, you get an email address, and then I believe you're given a temporary login to go to here and say, yes, I'm going to be attending. So it does keep track of people who are not part. As far as I can remember, and my apologies, I can't remember offhand now, it does not necessarily force you to go and get a Gmail account if you don't have one already. Any questions on any of this? Yep.
Can you synchronize your PDA using that calendar?
That's what I have.
Whoa.
Like I said, my iPhone is connected to Google Calendar here. This iCal that's on this computer here is synced with Google Calendar. And then I have, notice how we've got two different calendars here? I have a calendar called Activities with the Boys. And that gets synced to my wife's Google account so she can keep track of what we're doing. It also syncs to the boys' Google accounts, should they ever decide to look at it, to find out when they have dental appointments and stuff like that. And their iPod, whether they use it on their iPod Touch, they can sync it as well. I know you can sync through Outlook as well. So there's lots of flexibility in here. I mean, when you start the whole syncing process, it's cool. I mean, there's so much neat stuff that can be done.
Do you have instructions for how you're going to sync, say, your iCal?
Yeah, in fact, if you go under the help, again, Google has great help. They're really good at online help. I've also included in the sheet that I've handed out, there's a link there that talks about it. You might have to do a bit more searching, but I'm pretty sure if you go to google.com/calendars/sync, and there's the menus, yeah, there's a menu item here as well, and it talks about all the different stuff you can do. So there I can sync with Microsoft Outlook, iCal. I mean, you know, it's great because basically Google Calendar is the master, but it talks to everybody else. So for me, I have, like I said, I have this computer, I have my computer at home, I have my iPhone, and they're all talking to Google. So stuff gets loaded up, and it gets, as soon as there's an internet connection, it updates everywhere that it needs to update.
So your suggestion would be use Google Calendar as the master calendar?
Well, once you,
Sync everything else?
well, yeah, and because syncing is two ways. You start with Google Calendar, and then what happens is you say, okay, I've got Microsoft Outlook. Go to Google Calendar using these settings and pull down all the information that Google has on the thing there, and it can pull down. If I've got, let's say I've got Outlook I've been using for 5 years, and I want to have all that on Google Calendar, there's an export function in Outlook, export all my calendar stuff, and it creates a single file. Then I go onto Google Calendar and I create a new calendar called Trevor's Personal Stuff. I import that in, so now I've got a copy of what's on my Outlook and what's over here, and then I say, okay, sync. And it'll sync it all, and I'm right up to date, up to speed. So,
That's why I'm asking.
yeah.
I've been using iCal for the last, I don't know, 10, 12 years.
Oh, yeah.
It came out, so I don't want to lose any of those.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I've done that twice already. Next question. Look, it's not snowing anymore. GroupWise is a savage beast that does not do this. Now, I understand there's supposed to be a newer version. I have no idea if it will support this. Yeah, I mean, I wish. Oh Lord, do I wish? Unfortunately, it doesn't. So you that's why I kind of say, like, this is your personal side. That's why you get your personal email. You bring it up here, and all the personal stuff gets taken care of. I want to just show you something, though, what I've done here at the college even. Q.ca/alumni. So the alumni wanted to have a calendar of information, and they wanted to do more than just have their own information. I said, okay, you know, because they have, you know, if you're an alumnus, you get a different, different rates for the theater. You get different rates for other stuff. The Alumni Association has on their site a calendar here. This actually is a view of, I think, 6 or 7 different calendars. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, it used to be 6 or 7. The music performances is actually maintained by somebody over at Center for the Arts. So they actually keep up all the music performance stuff. The theater arts is maintained by someone over at Center for the Arts. The alumni activities gets maintained by the alumni, and Broadway performances, which is those theater events, gets maintained by somebody else. So even all that information is viewed on the screen here. So there we can see, I think this is the theater stuff. Let's see, in the blue here we have, yep, theater is blue, and then the orange is the music stuff. So it's all in one view, but they are separate calendars, and you can bring it all in together. That gets a little more advanced stuff, and we're not going to, I mean, you can do it just so you're aware of it. But the easiest thing and the best thing is the fact that you can take the calendar and post it on a site if you need to do it. The example I always like to use is the soccer schedule. If I'm in charge of soccer or Cubs and Scouts and stuff, I've got a website for people to go read stuff about. Why not put the calendar up there? And the beauty of it, as I mentioned, is that I go there, here's the information, there's all their information. Look, there's a map here if I need to, if they've done it right, which they have. There's the map. Everything's in one location. Now, let's talk real fun. I'm going to go back to my calendar for a second, and I'm going to create a new calendar. Now I've got probably 5 different calendars on my my login. One personal, my iCal, which is my work stuff in, and one for my kids, one for my wife's activities, and I have one called reminders. These are those things that you want to do that you want to be reminded of, but you don't necessarily want it in your calendar, right? Like I don't need, pick up milk. Okay, I need to remember to pick up milk at 11 o'clock or 6 o'clock on the way home, but I don't want that in my personal calendar. So I've actually created a separate calendar for that. So when you create the calendar, you give it a name, a description, all the rest of that stuff. You can choose whether to make this calendar public. This is my private stuff. I'm not going to. So I'm going to create my calendar. So I now have a new one here called Reminders. And when I go into the side here, I can look at the different settings on it. I can share this calendar. So this is how I can share this whole calendar with somebody else, not just my activities. So like remember when I invited Teaching Trev to go to my class or to come to my Superman in the Park event? That's one activity. But if I decide that I'm going to create a calendar called Reminders, and I can share that with a number of people. This is the example I was talking about where I create a calendar, say the boys' activities. I maintain it. My wife can access it. My boys can access it. If I want, I can also give them the rights so that they can edit and make changes as well. So all of us working together can build on this calendar, keeping track of what's going on. Under calendar settings, you'll find something called notifications. This is where stuff gets fun. By default, for this reminder, what are we going to do? Are we going to be able to have email and enable SMS? The SMS isn't going to work on here because I don't have my mobile phone hooked up to this, and I'm not going to do that right this second. But what I can do is I can actually say, okay, anytime as part of the agenda, I can have any of these things sent to me. So if someone accepts an invitation, cancels an invitation, replies to it, you can email me. If I have my phone set up on it, I can do the SMS kind of thing. What I do, though, that's always a lot of fun, is I'm going to go into this event here, edit events. If Teaching Trev had a phone attached to him, you know what? Let's add. When I have time, I'll accept it. So what will happen is there's an SMS function that will pop up because I have SMS on my phone. This is great because this is where I have my kids' stuff put in here. So for example, 3 o'clock, they get out at 3. At 3:01, they get a text message that says, bring your homework home. You have to study for the test tomorrow. Instead of me having to call them and hound them and hoping that they will do it, this will do it automatically. All right? You know the excuse. Oh, I was out. I didn't know what time it was. I forgot that I was supposed to be home at 10. All right? Have we heard this yet? Okay, I used to pull it, so I know this. But you can now set up text messages to go off. And in fact, for the reminder, and look at this, I can put in a number of reminders. So what I'll do is I'll put in a number of text messages. So they're going to get it somewhere along the line. They get one at lunch, they get one at 3:01, they get one at 3:10. There is no excuse for you not bringing your math home. Well, potentially we could do something like that. Now, that brings up a good point. Someone said, can you do that for the students? Sure. The problem that we have to balance this with is that the college has the FOIP thing, right? So we are responsible for any information that we collect. So as people representing the college, we are responsible to ensure that their email doesn't get onto a mailing list, their phones don't get sent off somewhere else, et cetera, et cetera. For students and stuff like that, we can't guarantee that because Google has its information in the States, which means it's susceptible to the something act, Patriot Act, right, which basically means anytime the government wants to come in and say, we think there might be a possible terrorism threat, give us all your email addresses of all the students at Grant MacEwan University. They would have to do that. However, when it comes to personal stuff, you know, it's just your kid's phone number. If they get junk, like my kids have never got junk mail. It's always been stuff from me. And I love this. I mean, like I said, I just have this one thing called reminders. I'll set it up to remind me to pick up milk on the way home or whatever. So there's lots of cool things that you can do with that once you've started adding your own phone number in. Because when you sent the text out, Google sends a text out on your behalf, the reply is going to be your phone number. So it looks like it's coming from you. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. So those kind of stuff with Google Calendaring is really, really fun. And as I mentioned before, we can sync through all the different stuff. The help settings are really easy to maintain. I'm going to discard my changes, otherwise I'll get emails all the time. What did I just say? Oh, the help menus have a lot of information there, and there's a lot of videos to go through, so it's actually worth doing that. Just so you can see, calendar settings, oops, sorry, share this calendar. So here's where I can share the calendar by adding other people into it. So I'm going to add Teaching Trev into this. So there he is there. Whoops. He can see all event details. He can make changes too. He can also manage sharing, so we can add other people to use it. I'm just going to let him to be able to make changes. And I'll hit save. So this is Clark's. Let's go over to Trev's. I have to refresh my window. Oops, I have to go to my email. Let's see if we got in here. Okay, so Blue Tights Fits Nice has shared a calendar. Okay, so that's right. All right, let's take a look at the calendar. And there, oh, there it is there. Charity work. So that's the stuff that he's done. So if I take a look in the month view, sure enough, there's the Mad Luncheon, the Cousins of Coca-Cola, the Friends of Superman, Superman in the Park. So that's that other calendar. This is duplicated because this is an event that's been added to my personal calendar. And like I said before, you can have as many calendars as you want. Under calendar settings, what I also can do is, if I go back, I have to do it from Clark's because he's the owner. But I can go in here and I can share this calendar. First of all, I'm going to have to make it public. Or will it let me? Oh, here we go. No, I can do it. So I'm going to embed this. So there's my code. I just take that and put it on any web page. So I'm just going to launch an application here that allows me to do that. If you're using Blogger or WordPress or any of those kind of things, you just paste that in to your page, and then when you look at this preview, there's the calendar. And this is a view only, so unless I'm logged in, but this is a view only. There's more details, and that will take me to the public facing part of this calendar. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay, Google Calendar, there's lots of cool things you can do with it. I do believe there's a document or an article that talks about the 10 different things you can use the calendar for. play with it, create as many calendars you want, delete them, whatever. You can search for other calendars, as I mentioned before, so browse interesting calendars. So holidays, sports, more. There's all sorts of things you can find. Let's just go football for the heck of it. Canadian Football League, yep, because that's me. Edmonton Eskimos, let's subscribe to that so you can bet the Eskimos are looking after this. Edmonton Eskimos is in orange, so let's go back to my calendar. And apparently they're not doing any games today. Might have something to do with the snow. But let's find the first orange. Here we go. There we go. Lions versus Eskimos, July 4th from 5 to 8. So you can either subscribe to someone else or you create your own calendar. You're the master of that information and you can make that available to everybody else. Any questions on calendars?
So when you are using the embed command,
Yep.
do that on our MacEwan website? Is that like how we
That's what happened with the alumni, yeah.
just copy that?
It It should work. If it doesn't, that means there's some wonky stuff on from the Red Engine stuff, which means that I go in myself and I'll paste it in. The one thing about it though is if I have to go and paste it in from the back door and get this code in there, once it's in there, any changes you make get updated automatically. So once that calendar sits there, it keeps feeding from Google the information.
And the reason I'm asking is, say, I'm taking care of a departmental website, right?
Yes.
All the departmental activities I can just throw up in the calendar, and they're in there.
That is correct. You could take that information, create department activities, whatever it is, and that's a calendar. Another group that's actually doing that is the Aboriginal Center, because they have the talks with the elders and that, so they schedule that. That's available on their website as well. So lots of flexibility.
Can we even embed it into Blackboard or not?
I don't know. Does Blackboard allow you to embed HTML at all? Does anyone know? Okay, if there's a way, yep, okay, so if Blackboard has like a little icon that says HTML, click on that, paste it in, it should work. Having said that though, there's a lot of pieces of software, sorry, a lot of these web apps will go through and take out what they consider malicious code, and in that case this would show up as something that's malicious code. Okay, let's move on then. Google Calendar, very fun. I'm just going to go back and look at my Teaching Trev stuff and check and see what's happened in Reader.